Long before pizza, pasta, or the Colosseum, there was nothing but 7 scrubby hills sitting next to a muddy river in central Italy. Nobody cared about those hills. Nobody thought anything special would ever happen there. Nobody, except destiny. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because the story of Rome doesn't start in Rome. It starts with a war, a very famous war, Troy. You've probably heard of it. Giant wooden horse, betrayal, city in flames, the whole dramatic situation. When Troy fell, a Trojan prince named Aeneas grabbed his father, his son, and the sacred relics of his people, and he ran. He sailed across the Mediterranean, survived storms, sea monsters, the wrath of a goddess, and eventually landed on the shores of Italy. The gods, it seemed, had a plan for him. Aeneas settled in a region called Latium, married a local princess, fought a local war, because of course he did, and eventually founded a small kingdom. His descendants went on to build a city called Alba Longa, and for generations the kings of Alba Longa ruled peacefully, until greed showed up, as it always does. King Numitor was the rightful ruler of Alba Longa. He was fair, respected, and completely unprepared for what his younger brother Amulius was about to do. Amulius overthrew him, stole the throne, killed Numitor's sons, and, just to make sure no future heirs could challenge him, forced Numitor's daughter, a young woman named Rhea Silvia, to become a Vestal virgin. Vestal virgins were priestesses sworn to celibacy. No husband, no children, no threat to Amulius's power. Clever plan. One problem. Mars, the god of war, apparently didn't get the memo. Rhea Silvia became pregnant. She claimed it was Mars himself who had visited her. Whether you believe that or not, the result was undeniable. She gave birth to twin boys. 2 healthy, loud, inconvenient babies. Amulius was furious. He ordered the twins to be drowned in the Tiber River. His servants took the boys, placed them in a basket, and set them in the water. But the Tiber had other ideas. The river was flooded that day, and the basket drifted gently to the base of a hill, the Palatine Hill, where it came to rest at the roots of a fig tree. The babies were crying, cold, and completely alone. And then, she appeared. A she-wolf, drawn by the cries, approached the basket. Instead of doing what wolves typically do, she did something remarkable. She nursed the twins, kept them warm, protected them. A woodpecker, sacred to Mars, also brought them food. Even the wild things of the earth seemed to know these 2 boys were special. Eventually, a shepherd named Faustulus stumbled upon the scene. He took the twins home, and he and his wife, Acca Larentia, raised them as their own. They named the boys Romulus and Remus. The brothers grew up strong, bold, and a little bit reckless. They became leaders among the local shepherds, known for their courage, their loyalty to each other, and their complete disregard for authority. So it probably surprised no one when, as young men, they found out the truth about their birth and decided to do something about it. They marched on Alba Longa, overthrew Amulius, and restored their grandfather Numitor to his rightful throne. Just like that. A wrong righted. A usurper toppled. The people cheered. But Romulus and Remus weren't content to simply rule Alba Longa. They wanted to build something new, something of their own. And they had their eyes on those 7 hills by the Tiber, the very hills where a she-wolf had once saved their lives. The brothers agreed to found a new city. What they couldn't agree on was where, exactly, and who would lead it. So they turned to the gods. Each brother climbed a different hill. Remus on the Aventine, Romulus on the Palatine, and they watched the sky for omens. Remus saw 6 vultures. Impressive. Then Romulus saw 12. Undeniably more impressive. But Remus argued he had seen his first. Romulus argued quantity beat timing. Both claimed victory. Tensions rose. Words were exchanged. Tempers flared. And then, in a moment that would echo through all of Roman history, Remus did something fatal. He mocked his brother. He leapt over the low wall Romulus had begun to build as the boundary of his new city. Some say it was Romulus himself who struck the fatal blow. Others say it was one of his followers, acting in rage. But the result was the same. Remus was dead. Romulus stood alone on his hill, and he said coldly, so shall it be with whoever else leaps over my walls. He finished building his city. He named it after himself, Roma. Rome. The date, according to tradition, was April 21st, 753 BC. Romulus became Rome's first king. He needed people to fill his city, so he opened it as a refuge, a sanctuary for runaway slaves, exiles, criminals, and outcasts from across the region. Rome, from its very first days, was a city that took in the unwanted and made them something. There was still the small problem of women. Rome had almost none. So Romulus invited the neighboring Sabine people to a grand festival, and in the middle of the celebrations, the Romans abducted the Sabine women to make them wives. This led to a war, of course, but, and this part is genuinely remarkable, the Sabine women themselves eventually stepped between the two armies, refusing to let their fathers and their new husbands destroy each other. Peace was made. The Sabines merged with Rome, the city grew stronger, and those 7 scrubby hills next to a muddy river, they would one day become the center of the greatest empire the ancient world had ever seen. It all started with 2 brothers, a she-wolf, and one man's stubborn, unshakable belief that he was meant to build something eternal. He wasn't wrong.